Have you ever had that feeling? You know, the prickling on your neck, like someone's watching you?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But you turn around and there's just nothing there, nobody.
Happens all the time. Little brain glitch, maybe.
Right, but now imagine that feeling, only you're alone. Really alone. In a hospital.
Yeah.
Middle of the night, say. 3 a.m.
Okay, yeah, that ramps it up quite a bit.
Yeah.
Hospitals at night have a whole different vibe.
Exactly. They're places of healing, sure, but also loss. Intense stuff happens there.
Life or death side by side.
So today, we're doing a deep dive into one of those stories, an unsettling real-world mystery from the front lines. It's about a night shift nurse.
Okay.
And a patient who, well, apparently just didn't exist.
Didn't exist. Okay, I'm hooked. So a ghost story or something else.
That's what we're going to unpack. We'll get into the chilling details minute by minute from this account and think about what it means, you know, for perception, memory.
And the places themselves. Like, do places hold on to things?
Exactly. Why do some stories, especially from those quiet hospital hallways, just stick around, become these persistent urban legends?
Right. And you said this is based on a specific account.
Yeah, it's a really compelling firsthand story called The Night Shift Nurse Who Saw a Patient That Didn't Exist. Real hospital haunting. Gives us a real window into it.
Okay. Well, what strikes me right off the bat reading about this is the witness.
Yeah.
The nurse.
Emily.
She seems incredibly credible. We're not talking about someone, you know, prone to hysterics or easily spooked.
Not at all. That's a crucial point. The source says she'd worked nights at St. Joseph's Medical Center in Pennsylvania for nearly 5 years.
5 years on a night shift. That's serious experience.
It really is. Think about it. The quiet, the sudden emergencies, seeing everything. Life, death.
You develop a certain calmness under pressure, a way of assessing things quickly and rationally.
Exactly. The source describes her just like that. Calm under pressure. Had seen death, trauma, pain, all of it.
So she's seasoned, not someone easily rattled by shadows or, you know, the building settling.
Definitely not. And that background, it's so important because you can't just easily dismiss her experience as, oh, she was tired or stressed.
Right. It forces you to ask.
Yeah.
If someone like her, someone this composed and experienced, sees something totally inexplicable, how do we even categorize that?
What does it mean? Yeah. It paints this picture of a really pragmatic, professional person.
Which makes what happens next even more unsettling.
Totally. And the atmosphere adds to it, too. It was a cold Thursday night in November.
Okay.
And the hospital was unusually quiet. Too quiet.
Ooh, that too quiet detail.
Yeah.
That always sets the stage, doesn't it? Almost like the silence makes you notice things you normally wouldn't.
Or makes anything unexpected seem way more jarring. The silence itself feels heavy.
Creates that perfect environment for something weird to happen.
So picture Emily doing her rounds, routine stuff. The source is super specific about the time. Around 2:57 a.m.
Before the 3 a.m. witching hour, classically.
Yeah. She's reviewing patient charts near the ICU wing, just normal work, and then out of the corner of her eye, she saw a man walk into room 6B.
Ah, the corner of the eye sighting. That's so common in these kinds of accounts.
Why is that significant, do you think?
Well, peripheral vision is great for detecting movement, but it's not sharp on details. Your brain has to kind of fill in the gaps, interpret what it just registered.
So it creates a bit of uncertainty, like, did I really see that?
Exactly. It's that edge of perception. Enough to know something was there, but maybe not enough to be sure what. It's inherently unsettling.
Okay, that makes sense. And the description of the man? Pretty standard, but also creepy.
What did she see?
Wearing a hospital gown. Pale, thin, bald.
Sounds like a patient.
Right, it's exactly what you'd expect. But her intuition, that nurse-honed gut feeling, just screamed otherwise. She felt there was something off. He didn't seem real.
Wow. Didn't seem real. From a nurse who sees real patients constantly, that's a massive red flag.
Huge. It wasn't logic. It was just this deep, visceral sense that something was fundamentally wrong with what she was seeing.
That kind of instinct, honed over years.
Yeah.
You learn to trust it, even if you can't explain it rationally in the moment.
But her training still kicked in, right? Her first thought wasn't ghost.
No, absolutely not. Her immediate reaction, despite that not real feeling, was professional. She assumed it was a patient out of bed, maybe confused.
Standard procedure. Needs help getting back to bed.
Exactly. She tried to fit it into her known framework, which makes the next part even more striking.
So she follows protocol, walks over to room 6B. The door is slightly ajar.
Suggesting someone just went in or out reinforces her assumption.
Right. She knocks gently. Sir, are you okay? totally normal.
Empathetic approach.
No answer. So she opens the door fully, ready to help. And what she saw made her blood run cold.
Don't tell.
The room was completely empty.
Oh, wow. Just
Yeah.
empty after she definitely saw someone walk in.
Completely. And this is the pivot, right? Where everything logical just falls apart.
It's that cognitive dissonance. Your eyes tell you one thing, reality presents another. The brain just scrambles.
Especially when you know what you saw. And she was certain.
And her certainty is amplified by what she does next. She doesn't just peek in and leave.
No way. She does a full, thorough check, turns on the lights, looks behind the curtain.
Under the bed, bathroom.
Yep. Under the bed, open the bathroom door. Nothing. Not a single trace of anyone being there.
That diligence is key. It eliminates the trick of the light explanation. She actively searched for a rational answer.
And found nothing. Just an empty room where a man who didn't seem real had just walked.
Okay, so physical search yields nothing. What's the next step for a nurse in that situation? Check the records.
Exactly. She's confused, shaken, needs an explanation, so she goes to the patient log, the official source of truth.
Damn.
And this is where it gets really weird. Room 6B had been unassigned for over 2 weeks.
Unsigned. So not just empty at that moment, but officially vacant.
For 2 weeks, it should have been empty. No patient scheduled, no mix-up possible.
Wow. Okay, so that rules out a confused patient wandering into the wrong room or an admin error.
Completely. It deepens the mystery. Whatever she saw, it had no business being there according to the hospital's own system.
But the log didn't just say it was empty now. It showed the history.
It did, and this is the chilling connection. No patient had been admitted there since a man named Thomas Grayson, who had died in that very room.
Oh, okay. There it is, the link.
The empty room, the strange figure, and now a specific death in that exact location.
That shifts everything. It's not just a random sighting anymore. It's potentially tied to the history of the space.
Right. Suddenly it feels personal to the room.
Yeah, it suggests that idea of residual energy or like an imprint left behind, especially with a significant event like a death.
Like the stone tape theory you mentioned.
Exactly like that. The idea that strong emotions or traumatic events can somehow get recorded onto the environment. And under certain conditions,
It plays back.
sort of like an echo, a replay. Not necessarily an interactive spirit, but a moment trapped in time.
Wow, okay, so Emily's probably reeling from this discovery. What does she do? Tell someone.
Well, she tries. Her heart started racing, the source says. She goes back to the nurse's station.
Needs some kind of validation, right? To know she's not crazy.
Definitely. So she asks her colleague, trying to sound casual, I imagine, "Did you see someone go into 6B just now?"
And the colleague says,
"No one's been down that hallway for at least an hour. Why?"
oof, total denial. Nothing seen.
Which is so isolating for Emily. Your senses screamed one thing. The logbook offered a chilling potential explanation, but the person right there saw nothing.
Makes you doubt yourself, even if you're sure deep down.
And she was sure. She didn't tell her colleague the whole story right then, but it says deep down, she knew. She had seen someone.
That internal conviction is powerful. It wasn't something she could just shake off.
No, it was too real, too visceral. It left a mark.
So that conviction pushes her further. She doesn't let it go.
Seems like it. That need for answers, for understanding, it drives her to dig into Thomas Grayson's records more deeply.
Okay, what does she find there?
Later that morning, maybe after her shift, she looks him up, finds the details. Age 67, cause of death, cardiac arrest, standard stuff.
Right.
But then, the time of death,
Let me guess.
recorded as 2:57 a.m.
No way. Exactly the same time.
Exactly the precise moment she saw the figure walk into room 6B.
Okay, that's beyond coincidence. That's synchronicity on a whole other level.
It really elevates the whole thing, doesn't it? It fits perfectly with that idea of an energy loop or a replay of the critical moment.
Like the event is somehow stamped onto that specific time and place.
Precisely. It's not just a random ghost wandering around. It's potentially an echo of Thomas Grayson's final moments, replaying at the exact time it happened.
The source says her hands trembled when she saw that. I mean, you would, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. That's a physical reaction to your entire understanding of reality being shaken. It's profound shock.
So now she has this impossible confirmation. The time matches. What now? Does she finally talk?
She does. She takes this information, this file, to someone she maybe trusts more, a senior nurse.
Okay, someone with more experience who might have seen things.
Exactly. She breaks the silence, shows her the file, maybe explains what happened.
And the senior nurse's reaction? Is it disbelief?
That's what makes it even creepier. No disbelief. The senior nurse just nodded quietly and whispered,
What?
"You're not the first one to see him."
Oh my god. So it's known, unofficially.
Apparently, it points to this whole hidden oral history among the staff, especially the night shift. Things that aren't written down aren't officially acknowledged.
But they're shared. Whispered knowledge.
Yeah, a collective memory of the space and its quirks.
Yeah.
It validates Emily completely, but in the most unsettling way. She's not alone in seeing this.
So room 6B has a reputation. It's not just this one incident with Thomas Grayson's potential echo.
Seems like it. The source mentions other strange things reported over the years, specifically tied to that room.
Like what?
Seeing a man standing in the doorway, which sounds very similar. Also, machines turning on by themselves.
Okay, poltergeist-type stuff.
Yeah, interaction with objects. And auditory things, too. Whispers coming from an empty room.
So visual, auditory, physical phenomena, all centered on 6B.
It suggests a pattern. A concentration of weirdness in that one spot. Not just one type of event, but a whole range.
And it affected others strongly, too, right? There was that story about the janitor.
Oh yeah, that one really drives home the intensity. One janitor even quit on the spot after seeing a figure sitting in the dark staring at the wall.
Quit on the spot. That's not just being spooked. That's a life-altering level of fear or disturbance.
Totally. It says whatever people are experiencing in there, it's powerful enough to make them abandon their job immediately. It hits hard.
Yet despite all these stories, the whispers, the janitor quitting, the hospital's official line is denial.
Completely. The source says the hospital never officially acknowledged any of it.
What was their explanation?
The usual suspects: fatigue, imagination, or sleep deprivation. Standard institutional brush-off.
Keeps things tidy, avoids panic, protects the scientific image, I guess.
Exactly. Acknowledging ghosts doesn't really fit the brand of a modern medical facility. It opens up too many uncomfortable questions.
But that contrast is so stark, isn't it? The official denial versus the lived experience.
It really is. Because the source adds, but ask anyone who's worked the night shift. And you'll hear the same stories. Different nurses, same man, same time, always room 6B.
Wow. That consensus among the staff, that shared secret, it gives the story so much weight, even without official proof.
It suggests a truth that exists outside the official records. A truth known only to those who walk those halls in the dead of night.
And Emily, what was the lasting impact on her? Did she stay at that hospital?
No, she transferred eventually, but she says she'll never forget that night.
It stayed with her, I bet.
How could it not? An experience like that, it fundamentally changes your view of reality. It's not just a memory, it's a shift.
And she remembers specific things.
Yeah, the sensory details, the cold chill, the man's eyes, the sound of her own heartbeat echoing down the hallway. Those visceral details show how real it was for her.
It wasn't just a thought, it was a full-body experience.
Absolutely. And then her final takeaway from it all? It's quite profound.
What's that?
And the realization that some patients never check out.
Oof. That hits differently, doesn't it? Changes the whole idea of leaving the hospital.
It really does. Takes it from a medical process to something else. Something potentially permanent, in a way.
So, looking at the bigger picture, why hospitals? Why do these stories seem so common in places like that? You mentioned liminal spaces.
Yeah, I think hospitals are prime examples of liminal spaces. They're thresholds, right? Between sickness and health, between life and death.
Okay.
And they're filled with intense emotions, fear, grief, pain, hope,
but you turn
joy.
Around and
It's concentrated human experience.
So the theory is that this intensity might somehow imprint on the space, make it more likely for these echoes or energies to manifest or be perceived.
That's one way of looking at it, yeah. It encourages you to think about how environments might absorb the events that happen within them. Maybe the veil is thinner there, so to speak.
It definitely makes you think differently about familiar places. That even somewhere sterile and scientific like a hospital could hold these unsettling secrets.
And that's why these stories resonate, I think. They tap into that feeling that there might be more going on beneath the surface of everyday reality.
So as we wrap this up, what should our listeners take away from this deep dive into Emily's story and Room 6B?
Well, it really challenges our assumptions, doesn't it?
That's what we're going to
about what's real, what our senses tell us, how memory works, and how spaces might hold on to the past.
It definitely makes you question things.
And it leaves us with that big unanswered question. How do we understand these kinds of phenomena that science doesn't neatly explain?
Are they psychological? Are they energy? Something else entirely.
We don't really know. Are they glimpses into another layer of reality?
Yeah, it's a really
Perhaps more likely
compelling
these liminal
first-hand story
spaces. It's
called The Night
fascinating to
Shift Nurse
consider.
Who Saw a So Patient That Didn't maybe the
Exist.
next time you're walking down a Real quiet
Fascinating.
hallway, late at Gives us a
night,
real window hospital, into or it. anywhere
Okay,
else, just
well,
pause
what
for a
strikes
second.
me right off the bat
Listen
reading
closely.
about
Ask
this is the
yourself,
witness.
are you
The
really
nurse.
alone?
Or
Emily.
is someone
She
seems still there,
Ah.
We're not talking watching?
about someone
A genuinely
you know,
chilling thought to
prone
leave
to
you with.
hysterics or
Makes you
easily
wonder about the
spooked.
quiet corners of the world.